Hey, what is up guys? It is Jin Yuki coming at you with another deck profile here today. And today, as you can see, it is Kagero Standard Dragonic Overlord The End. So, if you guys don't know anything about The End, he was just released in the set My Glorious Justice, what the fuck? The Heroic Evolution, yeah, that set. The one with Messiah and Novas. And yeah, it was just released and it was Overlord really caught my eye, and he made me want to put together a deck that was centric on him, and it's actually really fun, and I really like the idea. It is amazing to have Dragonic Overlord The End back in the spotlight again. It is awesome, and I love it. Without further ado, let's get into the deck profile. So, first off, we'll talk about gifts real quick, because there are two different ways you could go about this. You could either go gift 1 or gift 2. This deck can honestly do both. If you want the high pressure, definitely go with Force 1. Or I'm sorry, not the high pressure. If you definitely want like that more powerful Overlord attack, definitely go with Force 1. If they're at a high amount of damage early game, probably go for Force 1. If they're not, if they're at like 1 or 2 damage and you're on your grade 3 ride already, probably go for Force 2. If they're at, say, 4, maybe 5, but I doubt it, but maybe 3, 4, probably go with Force 1. Just depends on how the early game looks like. And yeah, so that is all I have to say about that. The starter, Lizard Runner Undu. When you ride him, you draw. You could run Ragla. That's just, I saved that for Blade Master. So this is not a Dragonic Overlord The End deck without 4 copies of Dragonic Overlord The End. He's basically got the skill that at the end of the battle that he attacked, you can activate one of the 2 effects, but you can't activate each effect more than once per turn. So you Counter Blast 1 and Soul Blast 1. If you have 4 or less cards in your hand, you Counter Blast 1, Soul Blast 1, and you stand Overlord with -1 drive. The other skill is you can discard 3 cards from your hand. If your soul has a card with Overlord in its name, you stand him with plus 10,000 power, drive -1. So if you use both effects in one turn, the last attack will not have any drive checks. But what I like about this card is some of the other cards that came out of that set, like Harmonix Messiah, a lot of them revolve around having a grade 3 in the soul. This guy does not need a grade 3 in soul to be effective. Yes, he has to have an Overlord in his soul to get 2 restands on his turn, but if you do not and you miss ride and this guy is your first ride target, it is not the end of the world because he could still restand at least once, which is amazing. So I still really like him. He is your boss monster and he is what kills your opponent. So I really like it. Him combined with Force 2 is a force to be reckoned with. Get it, Force? Yeah. It is a force to be reckoned with because of the fact that you put this guy on Overlord and then you can potentially use either Calamity Tower, Wyvern, or even Triggers will give him more and more power, and that will make it like 3 Vanguard attacks that your opponent has to guard because it has a crit. So that is why he is such a powerful card with Force 2. But again, Force 1 is not the end of the world. Then after that, I have the 4 Dragonic Overlord. If you want to run the Great, you definitely can. I just do not have the Great. It is not the end of the world to run Dragonic Overlord because it is still an amazing first ride target, and he is what sets up your play for the end to be so strong in the end. If you don't know what he does, Soul Blast 1 to gain 10k, and if his attack hits, you Counter Blast 1, discard 2 with and stand up with -1 drive. So very early start card. And it's not bad. So that is it for the grade 3s. There's 8 of them. Moving on to the grade 2s. For the grade 2s, I run 4 Wyvern Strike Decat. Decat has the skills. You Counter Blast 1 and place him in the soul. Choose one of your Dragonic Overlord The Ends, and it gets the Battle Door effect. This is an act skill. I wish it was an auto when you're the end attacked, but, you know, that'd be a little too strong. And it is the end specific, so you cannot use it with the Great. And it gives just the end, the Battle Door effect. If you don't know what the Battle Door effect is, it makes it so that when your opponent guards, they have to guard with at least 2 cards if they want the if they want the attack to be blocked. So if they want a PG, that's fine, they can PG, but then they have to also guard with something else, which is really, really cool, because of the fact that the end will be swinging for so many different attacks. The main combo to do is the end with Force 2, with Ducat, with Calamity Tower Wyvern. Just amazing. And it makes your opponent really, really, really have to guard those high pressure attacks. So, for Wyvern Strike Ducat, the next card is for Spillover Dragon. The reason I run 4 Spillover Dragon is because this deck has a very big soul problem. It has a very big soul problem because the end uses a lot of soul, Overlord uses a lot of soul, your Calamity Tower Wyvern uses a lot of soul, Red Dive Griffin, a lot of cards use soul. So you want to have cards that soul charge. And this guy does exactly that. At the end of the battle that he attacks while boosted, you counterblast 1, place him into the soul, you kill a rear guard, which is amazing. At least in this deck. In any other deck, it's really not that good. You can have other options like Berserk Dragon or something. Which you can run Berserk Dragon if you have him. I have him, but I just choose to leave that in Blade Master and run this because it puts it in soul. Blade Master is just another, I'm sorry, not Blade Master. Berserk Dragon is just another card that soul blasts, and you do not need that in this deck. Another card that retires is Dragonic Burnout. Burnout has the skill that's once per turn, act, not auto. Counterblast 1, choose a grade 2 or greater from your drop and put it on the bottom of your deck, and you retire your rear guard on your opponent's field, which is awesome. More retire power. And yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about it. That is it for the grade 2s. There's 11 of them. Moving on to the grade 1s. For grade 1s, I run 4 Sable Dragonute. This is a very expensive card. I understand that. And I get that if you don't want to hash out like $12 per card, I understand completely. But I do like him because if your opponent decides to go first, which chances are they will, this guy is really cool because when he attacks on Vanguard Circle and his attack hits, you get to draw an extra card. So, on your first turn, you will be getting the draw for your turn, the draw for riding your starter, your drive check, and the draw of Sable if he hits. So that is really cool. That's an extra 4 cards. So it's just another card that gets you there. And he's got a similar skill to Airmo. When an opponent's rear guard is retired, Sable Dragonute retires himself and you get to draw a card. So minus the counter charge, but still very, very amazing first ride target. Speaking of Airmo, run 4 Airmo. Airmo is one of those cards that you kind of really want to get. It's a counter charger. You definitely want a counter charger in this deck. Very, very good card. When it boosts, the boosted unit gets +3. That's awesome. But the main skill is when something is retired on your opponent's field, you retire Airmo, draw, and countercharge 1, which is awesome. The next grade 1s I run is 3 Calamity Tower Wyvern. Calamity Tower Wyvern has a skill that you Soul Blast 1 and he kills himself. Your Vanguard gets +15,000, which is awesome. You're Soul Blasting and sacrificing a rear guard, so your Vanguard can have 15,000 power, which, like I said, combined with Ducat and Force 2, the end is a really solid play because it'll be, let's just say, without any triggers, the end will be 28 with a crit, and your opponent has to guard with at least 2 cards if they want to guard. Then you use his skill to discard 3, stand him. He's got +10,000, so that's 38. Again, Battle Door effect, and then use a skill again. So like it's that high pressure, and that's really about it with that guy. The next card is 3 Red Dive Griffin. Griffin has a skill that when your opponent's Guardian is placed on the battle that it boosts your Vanguard, you Soul Blast 1, you kill one of your opponent's Guardians, and then at the end of the battle, Griffin retires himself. So it'll still boost, and the power will still be there. But that is amazing. Kagero has a guard break. It doesn't have, it does not stop Sentinels, so if they place a perfect guard and you use it, the perfect guard effect will still be there. But if they place, like, maybe, say, a 20k shield, you can retire that 20k shield, and they'll still have to guard, which is phenomenal in this, because a lot of those high shield cards can just be put to the drop zone, which makes them guarding your end attack much more effective. Again, which is why we have a soul problem, because we have so many cards in the deck that use soul. That is it for the grade 1s. There are 14 of them. Moving on to the grade 0s, I run 8 critical triggers, 4 Angry Horn, 2 Rakshasa, and 2 Tar. The reason I run 8 crits rather than 6 draw and 6 crit is because of this simple fact. the end has to, in order to use a skill effectively, you have to have 4 cards or less in your hand. Getting a draw trigger can potentially screw that up completely. You kind of have to put everything on the line when you use the end skill, and you have to kind of be sure that you're going to win when you use it. So because of that, you have to have 4 less cards in your hand to activate his other skill. But to activate one of his rescan skills, you have to discard 3. That's a hefty enough cost already. Then his other skill requires you to have 4 less cards in your hand. So by the end of the turn, you might not have that many cards in your hand. So that is why I choose to use 8 crit, because getting a draw trigger could potentially screw that up, and you could potentially accidentally have more than 4 cards so you can't restand them a third time, which would suck. So 8 crit is the best way to go, in my opinion. 4 draw PG, because you're, it's a draw PG, and then 4 heals because you're playing Vanguard. That is really about it for the triggers. I mean, there's not much else to say. It's a PG. You could run 12 crit if you wanted to. I mean, go for it. Just run a grade 1 PG, I guess. That's up to you if you want that real Kagero pressure. But other than that, that is that for the trigger lineup. And that is about it for the deck profile. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you've made it this far, I really appreciate it. The Kagero clan is really, really fun. Stay tuned for a Blade Master profile coming up soon. I don't know if I've posted that by now, or maybe I have already, and I don't know. But thank you guys again so much for watching. Please comment, subscribe, smash that like button, and hit that bell notification so that you know when I post videos. Thank you guys so much, and this is Jaden Yuka signing off. Later.